Hey, John.
Hey, Marty.
How you doing, sir?
If I get any better, I'm gonna have to be twins.
There you go.
Blessing after blessing after blessing.
I like to say I'm feeling so good they don't have words for it.
Ah, I like that too.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Just This is our pre-Christmas conversation.
Yeah.
Uh, Got one more. We'll do a pre-New Year's one in a couple weeks. But 'tis the season to be jolly.
Let's break that one down. It's,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Be good. Be happy.
Be safe.
Yeah, well that one I'll like, yeah, offer people.
So I wanted to share an experience I had and see if you have any comments or see if it sparks a thought of your own.
Okay.
Um, for those of you who are watching us for the first time, we talk about the accountability practice that John developed over the course of a number of years, and now a number of us are full-time engaged in. The accountability practice, from my perspective, is a practice that teaches me to love myself and, by extension, the world, no matter what.
Right.
Um, how do I get there, you might ask? Well, we're going to talk about that. Last week, I went back to Michigan, where I'm from, and my sister, who lives in Texas, came up to visit my our youngest brother, who lives in a little small town called Bad Axe, Michigan, which is in the thumb area. If you look at Michigan, it looks like a mitten, and he lives right in the tip of the thumb.
Oh wow.
It's a small town, 3,500 people. He and his wife have lived there for almost 40 years. Um, And my dad passed away up there a couple of years ago now. And he was up there because my brother and his wife were taking care of him as he was in his last months. And so my sister went to visit. Um, and while she was there, they took some time off and one evening and went around and looked at Christmas lights on the houses in not just Bad Axe but surrounding towns,
Right.
and they found they enjoyed it. Now, my family, I'm the oldest of six, and my family, we grew up in a very raucous, loud, and sarcastic verbal environment, and when they were traveling around looking at Christmas lights, they were basically mocking those that they didn't think were well done, and they were praising those that they liked. So that's the background to the experience I had. So when I found out that my sister was going to go up again this year, I invited myself along, and they were all, "Oh, that's cool." And so we had a nice time. Um, Went to visit my dad's grave. My dad's ashes are buried in the veteran cemetery near where my brother lives. So one night we're driving around and it's dark and we're looking at Christmas lights. And my brother and his wife and their daughter, my niece, are very funny people, as my sister, and so they're making fun of some of these displays, and some of them deserved it. Some of them are like, really? Um, but some of them were kind of cool. And we're driving along, and I said, I really, they were like, oh, look at why did they put those lights up there? They clash, the colors clash. And I said, no, I think that looks kind of good. I kind of like it. And one of them said, my brother and my sister said, Marty, you just don't get it. You're not with the program here, buddy. And I felt like I was back home as a little kid and I had said something wrong and the family was making fun of me. And I felt like I was going to disappear.
Right.
I felt that I had this feeling in my gut, and it was like just like this, John. It was like
Mm-hmm.
after all this recovery work I've done, I noticed that like I was, and for a moment I got angry, and I realized that that's how I would have responded 65 years ago.
Yeah.
I get angry and see if I can't out sarcasm the sarcasm. Like the response is, I have to fight back. So now I've been doing accountability practice for a number of years. And so that's not what happened. What happened was I noticed it. I noticed right away that I was in my family of origin, dysfunction, childhood trauma feeling state. And and it was so intense that I just all I could do is let it happen
Right.
and just sat there and took a deep breath and you know we're driving on and they're continuing to say things about other displays as we drive down streets and stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm noticing that my secondary defense would be to just withdraw and get sullen and
Uh-huh.
say nothing and sort of an I'll show you kind of energy.
Yep.
So I just sat with it and then I just asked myself, well, what do I want to feel here? Because it occurred to me that everyone in that car loves me dearly. And they were just doing their thing in the moment. They were not sitting around in a conspiracy to get rid of me.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It was me. It was all about me. And so I just took a breath and I said, no, I just want to enjoy myself. And so I said, I intend to enjoy myself. And the energy disappeared. And we just went on and I had a great time the rest of the evening. And but I just wanted to share that this this deep-seated I call it there's a drive to return to the body chemistry of our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I experienced.
Wow.
To put a formal name to it, when I was going through it, it didn't have a formal name. It was like, ah.
Yeah.
But the process that you taught me allowed me to, first of all, I recognized it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what was going on. Um, in the first few seconds of it, while I knew it was going on, I couldn't do anything but feel it. So I just let it happen. And I noticed the reactions and I noticed the strategies, the old strategies of how to handle it showing up. And, but I had the presence of mind and the capacity to observe it.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's happening. So it's happening in my body and I'm watching it as if I'm detached from it simultaneously.
Yep.
And that capacity to detach myself from the feeling without quashing the feeling, without trying to avoid it or dissociate from it, allowed me to be present and ask for what I wanted and to set an intention. So, for those of you that might be watching for the first time, this is the way this process works. At least it's the way it works for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll stop there and see if you have any reflections.
I got a question.
Sure.
Did you say out loud to them, I just want to enjoy myself, or I want to enjoy
No,
myself?
I thought about whether I should say something out loud, and I made that. So I did consider that, and what I was going to say is, ooh, that hurt.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't think it was necessary.
Right.
Um, it was they weren't really even paying attention, so I didn't feel the need to do that.
Okay.
But it was a possible strategy.
And you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
once I went through the process that I described, it was done,
Yeah.
and I was back present with my family and enjoying looking at Christmas lights and
Mm-hmm.
listening to their critique.
Yeah. And it was okay.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
what they do. And yeah. Wow. Um, the um, the mechanism that you addressed was that mechanism you said recreate family of origin chaos. You didn't say chaos, but chaos and body sensation, body chemistry.
Right.
Once you observe it and go, oh, there it is. It's like it's a validation. It's not a criticism. It's not a, oh, how stupid am I now, or how come
Right.
I. It's not an expectation. It's a simple observation, and then, oh, choice. I choose to have fun. I choose to enjoy myself, and that's what starts to happen then. Yeah, that's the benefit of um, owning shadow, owning unresolved, or the results of unresolved childhood trauma, and not just childhood, it could be early childhood, preteen, teen, all the things we go through um, in our dysfunctional way that keeps us from being authentic and actually making a choice. Just simply being able to make a choice in the circumstances we find ourselves. I think the one that exemplifies that the most is Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. He was in a concentration camp. He had no power as far as physical power, and he chose to do something different. Um, and he influenced a lot of people based on his choice and then his willingness to write it down in the book. Um, wow, very good. The process is starting the process is understanding why do I do what I don't want to do, or how come I keep repeating the same type of behavior over and over and over. Um, and the frustration of that or the pain of that got you to seek some assistance somewhere or to move to a place where you could like at least examine it or find out what's going on. And that's what happened with me. I started going to 12-step meetings. I wasn't sure, I didn't have the why. I didn't really think I needed to, but somebody suggested it over and over. And after so many suggestions from different people, I thought, well, I'll give it a try. I'll go see.
Sure.
Um, and whatever prompted me to go, I went to an ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics meeting, and they read the problem. They read um, the effects of family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma, afraid of authority figures, take criticism as a threat, love people you could pity. And there's 14 of these characteristics, and I'm going, how in the hell did they know I was coming? It's like they read that script for me. They could have put John is, and then read all that, and they would have. And I felt something, and I came back. I wanted more. I couldn't put it together what I wanted, but I kept going back, and um, through that process, and then through my own recovery process and teaching and drug and alcohol counseling, I figured out the age-old conundrum. Why do I do that thing I don't want to do? And I know that thing to do, and I find myself doing the thing I hate. That's Romans 7:15. Um, well, okay, because I'm wounded, and I'm recreating that event over and over because I survived it, and my body's built to survive. And I was just missing part of the information, which is I have choice. In any situation, I have choice. I thought I was making a choice before, and I was, but it was between two polar opposites. It's like one of the things I used to say if I got in a situation with a person who I'd hit it or leave it. That was my choice. Hit it or leave it. I had no other options. No other options were
And
available.
that was exactly what I experienced sitting in that car
Yeah, yeah,
when I heard that. It's like I either get sarcastic and hit back or
right.
shut up and withdraw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Put up with it. And yeah, so this process of intentional living, accountability tree, and I'm going to offer, we're going to talk about it, and it's going to make as much sense as it makes to you hearing it if this is your first time, and to offer that we have four meetings a week that you can come, Zoom groups, that you can come and check it out. And we'll have all that information at the end of this podcast where you can come and witness what we're talking about in a group setting where people have been in the practice for a while and use the principles, which is simply being honest about where you find yourself, telling the truth about where you find yourself. You in the backseat of the car, and I'm assuming you were in the backseat. Okay.
Good call,
I'm
John.
irritated. I'm irritated, or I'm feeling hurt. Nice deep breath. Oh, I know what this is. It has nothing to do with what's going on right here. And I can choose to enjoy myself. So I'm going to choose to enjoy myself. You didn't ask them to change. You didn't say, oh, I need you to, so I feel good.
Right.
No, you can produce that feeling from you no matter what's going on around you. You did that in the car. Viktor Frankl did that in the concentration camps. Now, I'm not saying he didn't suffer. I'm not saying he didn't go hungry. I'm not saying he wasn't scared. I'm not saying any of those things. But I am saying he knew he had some choice in that situation, and he exercised his choice, which I want to. This is my opinion now. Kept him alive through it, and yeah.
I think that was his opinion too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what he said. Kept him alive through it. So, yeah, wow.
One of the things that we emphasize in this work over and over and over again, and believe me, it took me time to get it, is that the key to exercising that choice is to recognize what's going on in the moment of agitation, fear, anger, fight, flight, freeze, whatever's going on. And not to merely recognize it as a thought that labels it, but more the feeling that my body will experience as if it's back in the original time that happened.
Right.
And that was so counterintuitive to everything that I'd experienced in my life. And I certainly had my share of illness and pain and surgery and other kinds of assaults on my body at the level of feeling.
Yeah.
But it never occurred to me to pay attention to my feeling experience as if it's a co-equal partner with my thinking experience.
I like what you just said. Co-equal partner with my thoughts or my thinking.
Yeah. Because we're a body mind. We're not a body and a mind. We're a body mind. But our mind has the capacity to numb out the feelings in the body. So the mind, each one of these parts of us have these specific capabilities.
Yeah.
And so when I learned, so for me, the accountability practice is integrating body mind as a single activity, but that takes some time to get to. So sticking with the feeling, it's that what I learned from you is that's the doorway to choice.
Yes.
And maybe if you would talk a little bit about why that's so. Why is that more critical than thought? In this particular part of the work.
I'm going to reference a guy named Ian McGilchrist, and he talks about, he wrote a book called The Master and His Emissary. And he talks about why the brain's divided into two hemispheres. And the significance of the left hemisphere, which is the rational brain, is where our movement is. It's like where I say I want to open the door, and my hand goes out and I turn the knob. That's my rational brain. My intuitive brain is the feeling, emotional, part of me that knows stuff without having to have evidence, see, hear, taste, touch, smell. And when the rational brain becomes the master, in other words, he's the boss and overrides the intuitive side, or just bullies his way through, that's where I find resentment, bitterness, contempt, adversity, conflict, unresolvable conflict, self-criticism, uh, self-deprecating, other-deprecating thoughts and behavior. That's from the rational mind, because the rational mind doesn't have the capacity to take in all the nuances. So it acts and it tears down and it divides and it breaks it down into the lowest common denominator. Um, if the left hemisphere, the rational hemisphere, becomes the go-to person for my choice, that's where the yes, no, hit it, leave it. I'm going to put up with this, or I'm going to get out of here. And the intuitive mind, which I'm going to call now the heart, or the emotional feeling body, gives me information and a feeling tone that feeds the rational mind to be in alignment with the feeling tone. In other words, it now carries out the wishes of this feeling. It's not, see, rational is 1 and 1 is 2. The intuitive mind might add up 1 and 1 is 3, because there's you, me, that me and you are 2. No, there's this relationship that we're having, which is another part of the aspect. So my intuitive mind might go 1 and 1 is 3, and not equivocate about it, and then join in this or participate in this dialogue, and see where it goes. My rational mind says, okay, when you talk, I shut up. When I talk, you be quiet. And there's this agenda that my rational mind has. My intuitive mind is free flowing and listens and responds and creates. See, what I want is to grow. If and that I get from my intuitive feeling sense. I want to expand. My rational mind, now being fed by this intent to expand, has learned that dialogue, even conflict in a conversation, is an opportunity to expand. So I engage and see what happens, and watch, like you were watching for the feeling tone, and then respond to the feeling tone. Um, and it's a different place to come from. It's like one of the things I can say when I'm facilitating, or even now when I'm talking to you, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say to you. I'm in this feeling space, and I find myself talking to you, and the words that are coming out of my mouth in this conversation are in alignment with my intent, which is why I'm doing the podcast, is to give this information to as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. And the fact that I'm doing it with you is that you have this way of keeping me grounded, and I'm like this. I go all over the place, and it works. And people respond to listening to you and I dialogue, not you and I being the same. You and I, what your intent, I'll let you say what your intent is. My intent is to inform people that there's something different. There's just something different. Be curious. Maybe, I don't know. I refer to Ian McGilchrist. It would be cool if somebody like, oh, who's that? Looked him up and go, oh my God, I didn't know that. Or Gaber Mate, or um, Greg Braden, Bruce
Pete
Lipton.
Porges.
Yeah, it's just all these people that are looking at the same thing, trying to figure this stuff out too. Why do we do that thing we don't want to do all the time? And no, we don't want to do it. And then for some reason, find
And boom.
myself powerless when I say, no, I'm going to be a good guy. I'm going to be a nice guy. No. Anyway.
Well, in a certain way, so my left brain is listening to you, and my left brain also wants to categorize things.
Yeah.
So what I heard you say is what my pattern seeking mind says is you gave a structural explanation of the this importance of the emotion
Yeah.
or spatial.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to give a temporal one.
Okay.
So for me, the other reason that the emotional approach is so important is because it came first.
Yes.
So when, as children, from the moment that we're born until somewhere around 4 or 5, there is no thinking.
Right.
There's no rational, that's still being developed. That part of the brain that has the capacity for rational logical thought is not developed yet. And it
No.
takes 3, 4, 5 years to reach the maturity where it engages.
Right.
So the reason why this work is so tough for all of us is because all of our stance toward the world, our sense of safety or lack thereof, our sense of integrity or lack thereof, was all created before we could have a rational choice. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in that period, 0 to 4, let's say, um, we could only react to what our experience was, what our environment was. And so the way I characterize this, John, and maybe you have a different way of saying it or seeing it, is that little Marty experimented with responses that worked to keep him safe.
Yeah.
So they're all responses. I can still remember my parents yelling and screaming at each other. And I'm in the bedroom with my next youngest brother and feeling utterly abject,
Yeah.
utterly like on death's door,
Right.
utterly threatened. And that wasn't the first time I experienced that. That was going on before I could have that memory.
Right.
So something in my body found a way to survive that.
Yep.
And that became the anchor. That's the anchor that showed up in that car with my siblings. I call it family of origin body chemistry. I think you use a similar term.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is permanently in us because it was first,
Right.
and it is our brain, our limbic system, all conform to the instructions that that defense method of saving ourselves taught it.
Right.
So by the time I could think, my thinking was being trained by that previously existing defense system.
Yes. Well put.
So that's why the key to this is our emotional body and not our thinking body, because our thinking body has been trained by that emotional state and will grab things to keep us in that state.
Yes.
Oh, you did it again. Oh, John taught you to start with your feeling and you didn't do it.
All right. There you go.
Boom. And it just brings me right back to that, whatever it was for everyone's original state is maybe slightly different, but
Yeah.
it's stress,
Yep.
vigilance, and a sense of isolation.
Yes.
And there's probably other things I'm forgetting, but that was
Right.
mine. It's like I'm all alone here. I have to be on high alert in order to take care of myself, keep myself safe from all these crazy people. And it wasn't the way it was being said. That
Mm-hmm.
was just the emotional tone that turned out to be the one that worked
Right.
for a little kid.
Right. And the emotion that prompted the kind of choice or yell or be quiet um, was unresolved childhood trauma.
Right.
So it's unresolved, and it, like you said, permanent. And then we are introducing the accountability process of just saying I'm irritated or I'm mad or I'm in a feeling state. Or when I started, it was just naming the behavior, which would I would have yelled back or been sarcastic back. So I'm violent. Take it to the accountability tree. The truth, I'm violent, no matter what the circumstance. Was I right or not right? Well, I know I'm violent. Taking a breath, no blame, no judgment, and that that admission to, or the ability to account for the behavior in the moment is in alignment with a childhood trauma, which is validating, yes, that hurt, and that there's a relief. And then I say, I intend to enjoy myself. And that's a directive now with this shifted wounding, reframed. It did not happen. It still happened. But as a child, I couldn't resolve that because I didn't have the wherewithal. As an adult, simply saying, this is just one way. There's all kinds of ways, but this way, owning the truth of my behaviors in the moment validates the trauma. And then in that frequency of validation relief, it's like I can see this sloughing off of people. It just kind of like it just goes away. They soften and they go, I intend to be kind, or I intend to enjoy myself, or I intend to forgive myself. And then that becomes the information in the emotional frequency now. And then the next time it happens, I just notice I'm doing it differently now. And that's what counts, is that it's different. And then I can build on the differences. That's where my rational mind, the emissary, can deduct that, can see that point, can see the difference in my point of reference before, and then my point of reference after, and then go, oh, something shifted. I want more. I intend to be accountable. I intend to use the accountability tree. I intend to continue this practice. I want this. And I practice more and more and more. And then this whole different experience is here. And I'm still using my senses, but it's the pool of information that's in my subconscious has been healed, reframed according to what I say. And I use words like forgiveness, generosity, graciousness, integrity, honesty. And those words start to be the frequency of my, I want to say, point of attraction. My point of attraction 34 years ago was stay out of my damn way. My point of attraction now has come closer. I have some information for you. And all the change in my now moment comes from my total consciousness. 7/8 of that is sub. 10 years from now, everything in my now moment will come from my total experience. 7/8 to 9/10 of that will be subconscious. All I do is pay attention to right now. It's like Ram Dass, be here now. Why the hell would you want to be here? What's so important about being here now? Well, here now tells you everything you need to know about you, about what happened to you that led you here. Okay, now when I first started, I'm violent, I'm mean, I'm arrogant, oh my God, I was like, oh no, yeah, I am. I intend to live in integrity. I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing spouse, father, and participant in my community. And things start to shift. And people come up to me and they go, "Oh, I feel safe being around you, John." And I'm like, "Yeah, you do. I've worked hard. I've worked hard to create that feeling, that vibration, that frequency." Yeah. And thank you for telling me. It feels good to be validated.
Yeah. So one of the ways I frame this is that we are creating, and I think you said this, I'm going to say it slightly different words. We're creating a different relationship with our subconscious.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
So my relationship was, before I started this work, was one of anger, and that masked fear because I'd have these compulsions and I didn't know what to do with them. They were disconnected from what I said I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be happy, and I was generating misery. And so, like, the only way I could handle that based on what I learned as a child was to double down and fight harder.
Right.
And how does that work for me? Well, on one level, it worked pretty well because I continued to get stress, and I continued to have body or family of origin dysfunction, body chemistry.
Yeah.
And so it was working in that sense, but it was disconnected from my conscious mind. So my conscious mind would just say, what's wrong with me? Boy, am I stupid. Boy, I can't learn anything, or I can't focus. or I
Yeah.
can't be disciplined or whatever. And then that anger would feed back into that subconscious
Yeah.
pool of energy I call
Yeah.
my original body chemistry, and boom, voila, there it
Yeah.
was.
There it was. Yeah.
Now, like I said, it doesn't. What I've discovered is the some of the, well, two things. The intensity of that body chemistry is dramatically reduced even when it shows up. And secondly, because I now have a different relationship with it, I can just let it be. Allowing something to occur or to be the way it is an act of love. So
Hmm.
when I experienced that sitting in the back seat of my brother's car, I was loving myself.
Yes.
I was just allowing what was happening to happen.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed, John, in doing this work is every time I give myself permission to be what my conscious mind says shouldn't be,
Right.
the energy drops,
Yeah.
the intensity
Yeah.
drops,
Yes.
a shift occurs.
Yes.
And that's because I'm actually now de facto in a different relationship with myself.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, I shift perspective.
Hmm.
I move to a different space. I'm looking at myself differently than I was before.
Yep.
And that's so the trunk of the accountability practice tree stands on intentional living, stands on living the life I want. And that's the goal of this work is to help all of us choose intentionally the life that we want.
Correct. We say what it is, how it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you said, it doesn't mean there aren't consequences. That doesn't mean my choices are always going to yield sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what it does mean is that when it yields storm clouds or fear or whatever is, I have a different relationship with it. I say, oh, it's kind of scary right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get out from the sense of terror. Oh, okay, I'm going to just be with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't be with it by myself. I'm going to pick up the phone and call somebody.
There you go. Wow.
I'm going to get help. I'm going to go to a meeting. I'm going to, so it's all different. It's still there.
Yep.
The intensity reduces. Sometimes it still comes back up so intensely that I can hear myself go, well, I don't know, I can't even do the tree right now.
All right.
I can't do the practice. Well, yes, I can. I may not be able to formally give it the focus that I often can, but I can still love myself by first of all just accepting what's going on
Right.
as valid. This is my experience.
Right.
I
And
can't
then
help myself.
you gave several examples of being proactive, like picking up the phone, saying it out loud, accepting I am in this feeling tone of isolation, or everybody's doing this on purpose or taking things. I'm in that. I'm taking this personal right now. Just the act of saying it out loud is proactive instead of not knowing. Not knowing, that's the information that this intentional living accountability tree process is bringing to people, is that there's something physically going on inside your body, and to have an experience that you can feel whatever, feel terror, and then be proactive about it instead of reactive. So
One of the things that I wanted to point out also is that we talked about earlier that this feeling state that we came into as children in these what appeared to be unsafe environments became hardwired in our neurology, in our brains. But the good news is the brain is plastic. So what we are actually doing is we're rewiring the neurology of our brains so that these intentions that we set are what start showing up automatically instead of the old defenses or the lashing out energy or whatever. It's it it's like that's one of the reasons I think that the intensity of the response is so much lower, it's because the brain has been rewired not support that intensity. It's not
Right.
there to do it.
Right.
I remember several times when I started this and I started getting an insight into it. I would feel something of the original family of origin body chemistry,
Yeah.
but I could feel that it was, instead of a 9, it was a 4.
Right.
And I would sit there and try to push it up to a 9, like testing it, and it wouldn't go.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, something is really different here. And it ain't just my thoughts.
Right.
There's something else. That's my body has adjusted itself to this conscious intention that I have created with the help of the accountability practice.
Fantastic. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's like I don't even remember how it used to be.
Yeah, good
It's
point.
like it's not. Yeah. So,
We can remember that we used to be that way, but we
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
we can't recreate the feeling tone.
Yes. Yeah. Really cool.
I think I've shared this with us in the past, but I still have this automatic nanosecond response when I do something clumsy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, kick like oftentimes I get up from my couch and kick the coffee table and
Yeah.
getting up and hurt myself, and I can feel that rage
Yep.
arising in my body. But instead of what I used to do before I did this practice, I literally would slap myself in the face.
Oh
I
wow.
would be so angry. And it's like I'm just recreating my relationship with my father, who was the star athlete, and I was the intellectual. And I was like, there was something wrong with me.
Right.
Um, Now I feel that energy and I just let it be.
Yeah.
So, okay, there it is. And then usually within a couple of seconds, I just start laughing. It's like, there it is again. There's my buddy.
Yeah. I used to like stub my toe or do something, and I'd scream, yell, cuss, throw stuff. Now, if I stub my toe, like for me, it's getting out of the shower.
Yeah,
Um, I actually say, ouch.
right,
I just say, ouch.
right.
And
That
it's like, yeah, ouch. Yeah, that hurt. And the pain actually subsides.
coming up toward the end of what we were um, talking about, which is the body of family of origin, body chemistry, and all those wonderful things. And we were talking about some examples, John. You were talking about stubbing your toe and
Yeah, yeah,
having a different response now, and
yeah,
like, ouch.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just acknowledging where I'm at the moment. I'm in this. I can sense the difference from adrenaline, which is that hypervigilant, terrified place where I used to call social anxiety or panic, um, um, caused by nothing in particular, just and I can recognize the body chemistry of dysfunction, and what I've identified it as is influx of adrenaline to help me cope with whatever danger is presenting itself from my unresolved childhood pain, childhood experience. So yeah,
So that's the again for those of you who might be new to this process. We spent some time today describing actual experiences that we have in using the process.
yeah,
And we talked a little bit about the idea that underlies this, which is that the emotional body is where the change begins, and that the mind is hired by our emotional bodies to be the ally. And so we're training originally our emotional defense systems trained our minds to think about supporting the emotional or supporting the defense system.
Uh-huh.
So that's one of the reasons that we have catastrophizing thinking, because catastrophizing thinking creates stress and adrenaline, and it just feeds that original body chemistry. Now we're in the process of changing our um, emotional complexity through intention. I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom is a command to our subconscious and to our actually the physical structure of our brain.
Yeah.
And so the more we do this practice, the more we have these dramatic shifts in our life experience.
Yeah.
So we certainly support, as John said earlier in the podcast, anybody wanting to actually check this out, come to one of our meetings and ask questions, uh, disagree, whatever.
Yeah.
Come and check it out,
Yeah. See if this makes sense, or well, actually, it doesn't make sense, or and you want to learn more.
or see if it feels sense.
Feels feels sense. I'm learning a new word, sensuality, and it just makes sense to me. It's like a marriage in my mind. It's a marriage of morality and sensuality. So sensuality. In other words, what? Um, well, I'm not even sure. It's a new word, so I'm gonna play with it. So and
Yeah, you
see.
need to. I hope you work on that and give us the insight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
there is some sense to the notion that being in our authentic experience is a moral good.
oh my God. You know, in my okay, I'm gonna go at my current there's no end result, but my current state is um I, if I see the importance of you to me, I'm gonna take care of you. It's like it's just automatic. It's not like I don't have to have a penal code or a set of dictums and dogmas for me to act. It's no, I see the value in you to me. And so I'm going to treat you with respect and honor and care. Oh my God. It's just,
Right.
why would I do anything else? It's just to me. Yeah. Okay.
And and the tell me if you disagree. That stance cannot come from just figuring it out.
No,
So what you said sounds logical, but the avenue to that was probably not through logic.
no, it was through this emotional journey of accountability and experience of myself in exactly where I'm at. No blame, no judgment, whether I'm being violent or sarcastic or judgmental. Oh, there, I'm being violent. Sorry, I'm, it is my intent to be kind, and then see what happens. Just
Right.
see where I go with that. It's like, and then do it again. Do it again.
One of the principles that we come from on this is that life is lived from the inside out.
Yeah,
The way I interpret that in light of what you just said is that uh, if I can't love myself, I can't love you.
correct.
So if I can't treat myself as important, as necessary to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
then I can't really do it to you.
No,
And
no.
so what I'll do to you is what I do to myself is I'll manipulate,
Yeah,
I'll lie,
yeah.
I'll deny, I'll be violent, sarcastic, whatever, which
When
is
I
what
was
I do to
first
myself.
when I first started facilitating, one of the guys would like pop up with a quote, I treat others the way I'd have them treat me. And I said, well, no, whoa, stop, don't do that. Because I don't think you like yourself a whole lot. And just consider that they already are. They're treating you exactly the way you treat yourself. So wait till you get some more enlightenment or something.
Right.
And then say, oh, I love myself. I respect myself. I hold myself in high regard, and I'm going to treat you in that way. Okay, then do it.
Well, we've talked about this a while ago. In Jesus's two great commandments, love God with your whole heart, your whole soul, your whole mind. Love yourself as your neighbor.
As your neighbor.
So love yourself as if you're your own neighbor,
Right.
and then you will love your neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the proper the actual commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. And we're like putting another twist on it. Whoa, whoa, wait till you love yourself, and then
Right.
love your neighbor. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So as we come to our time is coming to an end, I want to thank you, John, for a great year in podcasting. We've had some great guests on.
yeah,
Looking forward to doing more
yeah,
next year.
yeah, yeah.
And like I said, we have one more podcast for this year, but as always, I leave the last word to you for today.
You got it. Okay. Oh my God, I'm blank. um, I
But not for long.
yeah, I'm like the feeling I have is gratitude for what I just heard you say. Um, uh, Gratitude for having been gifted this information to then disseminate it, give it to other people. And I intend to keep doing this and uh, growing and paying attention to where I find myself in the nuances of this childhood trauma, how sophisticated it can get in drawing me into, oh, something's wrong, people are dangerous, or nobody loves me feeling tone, which
Right.
is absolutely not true anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty.
Well, sounds good. May Santa be good to you this year.
He's already done that.
All right.
And I expect him to continue. The season's not over.
Exactly. We still have
Yeah,
another week to go.
yeah, we got a whole nother week of receiving.
Exactly.
Okay,
All right. Well, thank you, brother. And
okay.
we'll talk to you next time.
You got it. Love you.
Love you too.
Uh-huh.